And then we're going to move into the last one, which Kiwi has recommended, because I actually have to log into Destiny tonight, and it's actually getting fairly late, so I was hoping to end on that last one. Kiwi wants me to watch this. I have no idea what this is. Let's get into this.
Hey people, Seth here. Are you tired of the stressful world of modern video games?
Kinda.
Want something a little more relaxing? Well, this isn't the game for you, because it's been 5 minutes since you checked the religion tab, and Osiris, to put it lightly, is quite upset. Better build a dozen shrines and beg forgiveness. Get cursed anyway. Lose all your crops. Go into an endless feedback loop of famine, which leads to emigration, which leads to more famine. Because once you start the cycle, you don't have enough workers to stop it. Go into debt. Pay interest on your debt. Go bankrupt. Refuse to give up. Rebuild your finances. Rebuild your faith. Rebuild your city. And then learn about the interesting life cycle of grasshoppers, which, at a certain population density, pump huge amounts of serotonin and transform into locusts. Lose all your crops again. Quit the game and swear you'll never play again. Welcome
play in 5 days.
to Pharaoh. Released 20 years ago by Impressions Games, Pharaoh is considered as one of the most developed, functional, and
this sounds meta as fuck.
City builders. To play, you need to rename your music folder and manually play the music on shuffle and repeat, because otherwise it's going to crash in 5 minutes. Otherwise, it runs pretty damn good on modern spyware. It doesn't use many resources, so I can focus my CPU cycles into sending my personal information to the CCP. To play the actual game, you need to make a family line, a dynasty to follow and develop across the historical progression of the campaign, from the earliest foundations of civilization on the Nile Valley to the triumphant heights of its golden age. It's a lot of fun. It's also deceptively simple and quickly ramps up in difficulty and complexity until any faith you ever had in your city planning abilities are completely wiped out, leaving only a deep-seated feeling of anguish, despair, and incompetence. Don't worry, I've been there. When I built myself a personal mansion and paid myself a pharaoh's salary, thinking that somehow I outsmarted the Egyptian monetary system. Only later did I realize I wasn't making money. I was taking money from my own treasury to pay myself so I could put it back into my own treasury. My profound economic genius did not go unnoticed, because in several months'
Jeremy
time,
Clarkson level of genius
attacked my city to save my people from extreme retardation. In the beginning, your only concerns are food, water, and preventing your mud hut from spontaneously combusting. In ancient Egypt, most forms of architecture have a habit of exploding into blazing fireballs that will eventually consume your entire city. Historians attribute this to the fact that Egypt is closer to the sun. As such, every street corner requires an architect and a fire station, because without them, in a few milliseconds, my city will look like this. Your needs grow with the people, and you always need more people to run the city. This process is encouraged by the fact that as you satisfy their needs, dwellings will upgrade automatically, both visually and mechanically, as they accommodate wealthier residents. Your reward for a well-managed city is a city that doesn't look like shit. So, unless you want to stare at mud huts all day, we need to talk about the essentials of Egyptian life. Ancient Egypt invented many great things, such as crime and punishment.
I would assume cooking inside of it
is a police station. Unfortunately, Pharaoh was an older game in the series, which still worked on the principle of employers having to manually find their employees. This means they have to walk out, and if they don't find any housing, they can't access the labor pool. In the residential sector, this is no problem. In the industrial sector, I don't have an easy way of saying this, but I am compelled by the mechanics of the game to form a ghetto. Yes, there's more ethical ways to reach the workforce, but it's far easier and more convenient for me to simply gentrify the population centers. After all, what do they have to complain about? Jobs are plentiful, taxation is fair, and undisclosed income will be recovered one way or another back to the better part of a city. One of the most central parts of life in ancient Egypt was religion. Each city recognizes a number of different gods, and they demand worship. There's obviously more, but in Pharaoh, you worship one of the big five: Osiris, Ra, Ta, Set, and Bast, which respectively control the flood, the kingdom, pottery, destruction, and secondary toxoplasmosis transmitted by your cat. Make them happy, and you'll get a blessing. That usually helps your city, unless it's a blessing from Ta. Don't worry, mortal, I've resupplied your workshops. What's that? You don't have a weaver, jeweler, or shipmaker? Well then, my work here is done. Oh, that's a nice empty storage yard you have there.
For actually, oh no, absolutely, 100%.
Appeasing the gods isn't
There's
easy.
so many.
You'll need to develop OCD and check the religion tab every few seconds to see how long you have until the next meltdown. Gods have to be honored.
That reminds me, there's a meme that keeps going around, and maybe someone can point me in the right direction for it. Somebody linked the the fucking Among Us. No, it's not Among Us, but apparently this is an Egyptian thing, and apparently it has reference to a specific god or a specific concept. And if anyone knows it, please link me to, because I'd be very interested to see where this actually comes from. But you know, there's a whole like Egyptian Pantheon. Like, it's not just 5.
By throwing festivals as often as physically possible. You see, the only way to delay divine punishment is getting shit-faced and drinking copious amounts of alcohol.
So modern society.
Osiris smiles. Don't be surprised. Ancient Egyptian mythology is very powerful, and I think that's the Osiris myth. Most of my retelling comes from the Plutarch account, which has its own issues, but we largely had to piece this all together. Ancient Egyptians believed that words carried
So,
power.
thank you for the follow.
So
I didn't see that.
Negative or unsavory parts of stories were often never recorded, because simply writing them would manifest the words into reality. Anyway,
I didn't
it goes
even read
like
that.
this.
Didn't have enough
Osiris
time.
rules over Egypt. Set didn't like that, so he invites him to a dinner party, during which he loudly proclaims,
"Bro, the McDonald's! Bro, that looks so this looks based. This whole fucking platter. I love everything about this. Book of the Dead, Medjed. That sounds right. Thank you. Someone send that to me in the server.
There's a gift at the end. It's
bird
a
is the
chest,
word.
but you only give it to whoever fits inside. Every guest tries the chest, but none of them fit except Osiris.
Got him.
As he hops into the chest, Set and his goons lock him inside, decapitate and dismember him into 42 pieces, and throw him downriver. Osiris's grieving wife Isis and his side hoe Nephis team up to find the missing pieces, including his dismembered penis. In one version, they find everything except his penis, which has, of course, been devoured by a fish. This may explain the lack of fish in ancient Egyptian diets, probably because, as far as they were concerned, they were dick eaters. Isis naturally asks Thoth, god of magic, to make him a new penis instead, the dimensions of which were never stated. At this point, they preserve the body, making him the first mummy. Then Isis posthumously bangs Osiris's undead body and gets knocked up. However, Osiris...
All I'm gonna say is that the Mummy movie with Brendan Fraser was a movie for a lot of people. A lot of people liked Al Naqshuna Moon is all I'm gonna say.
This is incomplete, so he pieces out and goes on to become king of the afterlife. Isis gives birth to Osiris's son, Horus. In the meantime, Set has usurped control of the kingdom. That is, until Horus grows up and challenges him for the throne of Egypt. This takes almost 80 years, during which...
I'm trying to remember which one is... I'm trying to remember which one Set is. Because there's a couple beings. I think Set is actually one of them. Where there are a couple deities that you don't joke, you don't mess with them. And that, I mean, obviously this gets into like how, beliefs, religion, etc. as you will. I'm not going to get into that. That's something I want to stray far away from. From what I've understood, there are just certain entities that you just do not. This is one of them. With the big boys now, yes.
They transform into hippos and bite the shit out
Hippos
of
are assholes!
Isis attempts to intervene and harpoon Set, but accidentally stabs her son instead.
There's one that is... I can't remember which Egyptian deity is actually just like chaotic evil. I don't think... Is it Set? I don't think it is.
Mother. Don't worry, it's not fatal, as Thoth steps in, slaps the stump, and replaces it with a head of a cow, which is why Isis is often depicted so. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, Set sexually assaults Horus. I mean, we went from dick-eating fish to this. Did you really think it would
No,
be
it's
safe
not
for work
Set. I don't think
just
it is.
because it's Egypt? Let me give you some context. Ancient Egyptians believed semen was a very potent substance. In other words, poison. Set came inside Horus, which made him physically ill and made Set a homosexual. Except no homo, because it's all about power dynamics and mental gymnastics with these people. Horus survives because he caught the semen. With what? With his hands,
I think it was
of course.
Set.
I
I'll
imagine
have to do
he
research
just
on it.
slapped it away. Then Isis straight up puts Horus's semen on lettuce. Man, don't judge, okay?
What?
Find you a mom that cares. Find you a mom that'll help you prank your friend by putting a little extra seed in his salad.
Got
Set
him.
consumes the cum cabbage and gets impregnated by his rival. Set loses the throne of Egypt, and Horus takes his rightful place on the throne after eating another
Divinity
beast
might
nut,
work differently,
getting your
actually.
own torn off and tearing out his eyeballs only to proverbially give birth to them once again is kind of a low blow to your reputation. And that is the Osiris myth. And bet they never teach that shit in schools.
No.
It's also relevant because Pharaoh is seen as the physical incarnation of Horus.
Accurate.
But back to
Yeah, no,
religion. The
hippos
gods
kill a
are
lot of
fickle.
people.
You've got local deities and you've got your patron
Yes,
gods.
yes,
Local
they are
deities
innocent
need
ocean
temples,
dogs. We just
or
happen
they
to be in
get
the water.
pissed. If
Hippos
a
are
local deity
actual
has more
assholes.
temples than another, the other one gets pissed. If the number of temples for each local deity and the patron god
Hades
are
is literally just a
identical,
paper.
the patron
He's just
god gets
paperwork all
pissed.
day.
Satisfying the gods is a delicate balancing act of wasting all your money on temples, but never spending too little or too much that they get jealous and burn your city to the ground.
That's the one.
Aside from the spiritual need for faith, your people have a physical need for entertainment. This is where being illiterate really hurts. If you haven't read tutorials, you'll know how to place the entertainers, but no idea how to place the venues. If it shows red, that's because your road is wrong. But how do you make it right? Well, as a child, I made every road shape possible until finally one of them snapped in place and became green. Once you've got that down,
Neat.
entertainment is sorted. Look at them. Not a phone in sight. Just people living in the moment. Dying
Hades
of
is just
malaria.
super
Unless
legit.
you want your entire workforce
Dude
to
just
be
does
wiped out
paperwork
by a
all
plague,
day.
Consider implementing universal health care everywhere except the ghetto. Insurance coverage doesn't extend to my work camps because the cheapest cure for malaria is to delete the household, which is a good time to mention that if you right-click on someone...
Fuck. Plagued citizen.
Oh, my head.
They'll tell you their personal feelings about the city
I can't find a place to live.
at
That's
any
neat,
given
actually.
time.
I've been kicked out of my home and through no fault of my own.
Advance fervor, and your people will demand more. Pottery, beer, recreation, education, a working legal system to complain about the state of police brutality. And if you give them enough of these goods and services, they'll turn into nobles. Say goodbye to half your workforce, because these guys don't do heavy labor. But their estates are absolutely beautiful. Pharaoh was a very aesthetic game, and it still is.
Very
You've got
aesthetic,
a lot of
actually.
options for beautification, from plazas to gardens to statues you can choose and rotate by pressing the R key. Primarily, you're going to use them to inflate property values, but there's also another lesser-known purpose to statues, dealing with wild animals.
Scorpion.
Normally, the only response to an animal fatality
Jeez.
is police brutality.
Look at that
If an animal is
scorpion.
not beaten,
Big.
a citizen gets eaten. However, you can block off predators by surrounding them with several dozen pickle sphinx statues. This method only applies to members of the animal kingdom, which doesn't include water demons. Do you know
Water
how many
demons?
police
It's
officers
hippos!
it takes to kill one hippopotamus? I tested this. I lose 5 men for every hippo. I could send in the army, but then they run to water and toggle god mode. I've learned
Toggle
to accept
god
that there's
mode.
nothing I can do about this except increase the music volume to try and drown out the screaming. With development, comes
Hippos are
prosperity.
assholes.
Trade is an essential component of any city, and without profitable
Hippos
exports,
are.
you're
They're
going to run
they're
out of
wild.
money. Don't worry. If this
Absolutely
happens,
just
Pharaoh will
feral.
send you a stimulus check because he's literally printing his own money. I recommend declaring bankruptcy at least once each mission. Hey, it's free money, and I'm gonna take it. Anyway, each city can only make certain goods. Everything else, you're gonna have to import. Not only that, but your neighbors and the Pharaoh himself might make requests of your city. On paper, it's a gift. In reality, it's an obligation. Oh, you didn't send food when we had a famine? Then forget about trading because my people are dead. You know those blocks of sandstone you never delivered? They're still missing from my pyramid. And if you don't meet the second deadline, your shoulders will be missing a head. Even with trade, there's still the issue of balancing your budget. Your people have to be paid after all. To this end, you need to build a palace. Without a palace, your palace cannot be robbed. It also allows you to make tax collectors. Tax collectors...
I know the Greeks tried to solve this, I think, with what bread and circuses was the thing that came to mind recently, the thing that came to my attention, which in itself is a concept that made enough sense. I don't have enough innate understanding of it, but I mean, the gist is every Roman citizen was entitled bread. And circuses is obviously entertainment. Are you fed? Are you entertained? Cool, be on your way. The moment people don't have bread and circuses, that's when people start asking questions, people start being discontent, etc., etc.
Exist to be shanked in the open street while everyone watches.
Wow.
They're essential for your city. This game taught me an important lesson. Economics is a closed loop. All the wages you ever spend, you get back through taxation, which at 9% is fair and stable. Pump it too high and your city will quickly become a ghost town.
Right.
I tested this, and unfortunately, you can't build a tax prison, whereby you lure immigrants into your city with low taxation, then suddenly pump the tax rate to 25, and prevent them from leaving with a double-layer thick perimeter of solid stone.
Yeah.
It turns out the desire to emigrate is so strong
They just
that
transcend.
people simply phase through walls, reinforcing the theory that even lower on Maslow's hierarchy of needs is the
Kiwi, what's happening in
physiological
chat?
requirement for a human being to evade taxation. Ancient Egypt was a real powerhouse and evoked a
Mind
lot
the
of
P word.
jealousy. I would be too if I lived in a desert. Understandably, they're here to take your crops and murder you. Invasions are common, so combat is inevitable.
Thank you.
I'll be real with you. It's not very good. Most of it boils down to how many bodies and planks of wood can I throw at the enemy.
have to
That is,
meet certain
until you get
guidelines, if
which
that
were
makes sense.
considered
So
by
watch the
many
word.
during the time period to be imbalanced, pay-to-win bullshit. Alternatively, you could just pray to Set. So once your enemies reach the map, they'll fall to the ground and be recorded as a COVID death. Above all, Egyptian civilization revolved around one
Awful.
thing: building the sickest tombs. Think of the richest man alive right now in Anno Domini 2020. Now consider
Greece was ahead of its
he
time in a
hasn't
lot of
even prepared
aspects.
a modest mastaba to serve as his mausoleum. The ancient Egyptians believed that the afterlife was a complicated affair. First you die, then you're judged. You tell the gods the 42 sins you haven't committed, and your heart is weighed against a feather, known as mayat or balance. It's all metaphorical, and essentially, live a bad life, and your heart is devoured. Live a good life, and you get to go on to the field of reeds, where everyone, regardless of status, gets the same patch of farmland. To put it simply, the field of reeds is a socialist heaven. That's why Egyptians often buried food, drink, and other valuables with their dead, because you'll need it for the journey. That's why they also got so upset about grave robbers, because, think about it, if you're stealing shit from a pharaoh, you're actually stealing shit he needs in the afterlife.
Yes.
It's like you're playing Gmod Survival, but with God. But God's multiplayer session doesn't have anti-cheat, and as you try to chow down a fig, it fucking despawns. So you reach for another, it also despawns. And now you're naked. Egyptian life was as much about living as it was preparing for the next one, which is why most of the later missions will have you preparing your own funeral as you wait literal years for the pyramids to finish construction. At this point, there's no shame in using cheats. The Giza pyramids are actually so goddamn big that even cheat codes can't finish them. They can only speed them up. Luckily, the Cleopatra expansion has none of that. Thanks to the long-term threat of burglary, you'll be building tombs into the rock instead, inside the Valley of Kings. It's really
Valley
more
Kings is
the
actually
same,
really neat.
except some guy called Moses keeps messing with the RGB settings of your river, and will continue to do so until Pharaoh finally has enough and decides to free the Jews. This game also comes with a surprisingly functional and intuitive map editor. I even made one myself, with a custom script that generates crime every month of the year to try and simulate the average inner-city neighborhood of a new world. As a game that's nearly older than most of the people on this platform, it's still got the best soundtrack, the best visuals, and the most functional design of all city builders. Pharaoh, like the pyramids, was built to last, and I give it my highest recommendation. It is by no means easy.
Excuse the fuck you, what was that? How many
last,
honks?
and I give it my highest
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 onks out of Fuck. I feel there's a joke I'm missing here.
Recommendation. It is by no means easy, but all things worth doing are difficult. And what's the most difficult thing of all? Maintaining civilization.
Ow!
No civilization can ever last. Empires rise and empires fall, and so did Egypt to the Roman Empire. Caesar Free is practically a carbon copy of Pharaoh, but hey, Roman religion was pretty much a carbon copy of the Greeks.
Got him!
I'm gonna get to them in the future. On the other hand, they did invent shitposting. It's maybe comforting or humbling to remember that no-
They invented shitposting. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god, I love it. I have to move on because Twitch, but oh my god!
The hopes, dreams, and motivations of fellow humans remains very much the same. The only difference is that instead of spending your time killing
that was clearly a fish,
you'll
Twitch.
be spending your time killing the Scottish. Caesar Free was very progressive for its time, as it accepted the harsh truth that you could bring civilization to Britain, but you could never bring Britain to civilization. Unlike Pharaoh, most of the messages you get are actually animated. The voice acting is way better.
If more food doesn't arrive soon, there won't be anyone left to pay any tax.
Combat doesn't suck ass, and it actually runs on modern systems. Despite all this,
is actually
it is 1
neat.
year older than Pharaoh.
Wow.
So, what's the downside? Well, there's no monuments. But on the bright side, there's no monuments.
On the bright
Overall,
side!
if you're concerned about hypertension, Caesar Free is the better option. It's not the anxiety-inducing disaster spiral that is Pharaoh, but I also highly recommend it. It's a wonderful game about the greatest of empires.
You got through those funds quickly. Try to make these new funds last longer.
But like any empire, it too had to collapse. The
I
fall
miss
of the
these
Roman
cutscenes.
Empire
Like,
sent
Baldur's
us
Gate had similar
tumbling into the Dark
cutscenes.
Ages, a long period of technological decline where the only video game you
Yeah, the
had
cheese weight. Yeah.
was Dark Souls.
Dark
and it
Soul.
took us nearly 1,000 years for humanity to finally recover. If
Fact.
you're interested, GOG isn't selling a bundle. Activision flaked out. So instead, use my link and you get a discount on not only Pharaoh, but also
That's
Caesar
kinda
Free
neat. I'll have
and
to check
pretty
this
much
out.
every game I've ever sold on GOG. Enjoy. As always, more content to come next year. Merry Christmas. We don't celebrate Christmas here because we killed Jesus, but don't let that stop you. A warm thanks to the many members of the Merchants Guild generously funding and bankrolling these videos for over 2 years now, which I neither expect nor deserve, but I count my blessings and I'll try to make it
Horse.
worth your time. Please take care of yourselves, stay safe,
Horse
and
cart.
happy holidays.
I love this. This was awesome. Well, yeah, humor was like, yeah, darker, but I didn't see a problem with it. I will say the R-word professional disagreement with that. That being said, I mean, didn't really see an issue. It's fine. It was neat. That is a lot of credits. Is there an after, or is this just all credits? This is all credits. Okay. It was a wild experience, and it kind of like blended. What do you call it? Kind of blends reality. That's the one. So I think at this point, as we're getting near the end of the stream, because this is going to be the end of the stream, I want to go and raid our friend Miko. You may have seen Miko and we did the Pokemon tier list. That being said, Miko is streaming League right now. I'm gonna go let's help out Miko. Let's say hi. I need to actually hop on Destiny 2. Need to see if the Valentine's Day bow is still a thing in the game. I need to also see about at least getting tomorrow's video ready so I can just do that. It's been a day, is what I will say. Phrasing? What do you mean phrasing? Has been jump scare. It was a little bit of a long stream, yeah. Council is yes. Investigating discovered something interesting. They figured out it was a workshop at Bronze Tower, but Mark received complaints about how shoddy his work was. They kept these stuff down. Version of Punk who's got yes. I fucking love everything about that. Recommended. What about the recommended? Has been jump scare. How could he? Byzantine Empire. Ah, yes, the Byzantines. I don't know too much about them, but they're definitely conversation worthy. Nah, loved it. I thought this was neat. I will definitely be back for more at some point. Yes, 2 Asmon videos. I have a backlog of Asmon Gold at this point, because Asmon just shows up everywhere. We're letting this run for algorithm's sake, and then we'll raid Miko.